Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us, and welcome to Firing Range, a podcast to talk about all things Destiny weapons, abilities, loadouts, and the sandbox at large, and maybe even beans on toast, because tonight's special guest joining us all the way from Dubai, the lovely, the suave, the PhD in PvP, Ascendant Nomad. How are you, buddy?
Hello. It's good. It's good. Thank you again for having me on the show. It's lovely to be back.
It's great to have you, buddy. Thank you so much for agreeing to hop on tonight. If you're listening audio only, it is me, Cameron Cakes, Cool Bro, and Nomad. There is no Drewski tonight. He is continuing his yeah, we do miss him and love him, but you know, everyone needs time away. We're not, I mean, you know, Drew's doing his own thing, and if or when he ever does come back, we'll be sure to let you know. But
I volunteer on behalf of Drewski to represent the Cones.
You're on Team Cone. That's fine. We're totally down with Team Cone. How we all doing tonight? Good to see everybody.
Great. Doing pretty good.
Yeah.
Little sad Iron Banner's gone, but here we are.
I am really glad that Iron Banner's gone.
I'm so interested
me too.
to have this
Fun
conversation because Cammy, I did see your tweet, and classic Cammy.
I was gonna say this is Cammy joking, and then I realized Cammy doesn't joke on Twitter.
Cammy doesn't play around, dude.
Oh, glass half full cam over here. You never get away from the
Yeah,
guy.
he does not play around.
I use high impact reserves now, but
I mean, do we want to just leap right in, because that's the first thing I put on the outline? So, do we want to do a quick intro for Nomad? I mean, he's been here before, but maybe
Obviously.
we have new people who aren't here. They don't know.
Let it rip.
Come on,
If you don't
Nomad.
follow him,
Tell
follow him.
the
Don't watch his videos,
people
watch him.
who you
Okay,
are.
so if you're wondering why Fallout referred to me as the PhD, it's because when I was a young spry man, and I wanted to try and differentiate myself amongst the gods in the community, I thought, hey, let's call myself the Crucible Doctor, because that's not cringe at all. So that's where that came from, and I would help people get better at the game.
Yeah.
But obviously, since Destiny 1, there's been less and less of a reason to care about getting better at Destiny 2. So now I just make weapon reviews like every other schmuck on YouTube. So that's me.
Yeah.
Hi.
It's a hard gig.
When you were young,
It's a very hard gig.
a doctor when you were young, but now at the end of your life, that you're
Just full blown mental patient. That's what's going on.
everybody when you're a young hot content creator, gotta have something to stand out, right? I think we can all relate.
Yeah.
But yeah, great to have you here. You should check out Nomad on YouTube. He's got fantastic videos and stuff like that. So good to have him here.
Appreciate it.
Of
Thanks
course.
for having me.
And first thing on the agenda, which we already kind of dabbled with a little bit, Iron Banner Fortress. How about that?
Cam has to start it. Cam has
okay,
to
I'll
start it.
start it.
should we mention what it is? I mean, I would be shocked if you're listening to the podcast and you don't know what it was or is. I don't know. Maybe you're taking
I'm
a
not
break from the
describing
game.
it because it'll be biased when I describe it.
I'll give a fairly, I'll try to do an unbiased recollection. It is Bungie's newest wild take on Iron Banner, because, you know, Bungie is like a, you know, sexually awoken person in college. They like to experiment. So think zone control with a twist.
With extra steps.
With extra steps. So 3 territories. The kills do not contribute to the score of your team.
Conversely, your score does not matter to your team. Continue.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
The magic
Continue, yeah.
incalculable score. So when you hold a zone, there is a repeated timer that goes down until 0. And when the timer hits 0, whoever is in possession of that zone, I believe, gets a point. And then 2 times during the match, one at the 40-point mark and one at the 80-point mark, a giant Cabal drop pod will head down in the middle-ish of the map. And you kill the turrets, because there are Cabal turrets there. And then whoever gains control of that military territory, another counter will go down to 0. And there's kind of like a big point earned to be had by controlling that middle zone. A lot of back and forth from the community about feelings on this game mode. Most people I talked to did not like it for reasons we will get into. I was interested to see that Cammy was enjoying himself on Twitter, which, again, color me intrigued. Cammy, please.
I'll front load it and give myself an out on this. It was mostly the sandbox that people dislike, not necessarily the game mode.
I
would
did.
concur with
disagree.
that, actually.
I disagree.
Now, I want to hear from Cool Guy eventually. I will mention that my initial experience was good, and then I think other things surrounding Iron Banner may have soured my experience over time. But Cammy, continue to regale
Okay,
us.
I take solace in that this is a true objective mode. The kills don't matter. I can make huge plays by just wasting 4 people's time at the same time for 30 seconds, and that's a bigger play made than getting a 7th column in other modes. And I love that. Destiny needs more modes like that. Rift was good, but then they made 3v3 Rift, and that just worked better. So I like 3v3 Rift better than 6v6 Rift.
These are like the hottest takes I've heard. I love Cammy takes. They're my
I'm an
favorite.
old school FPS player.
They're
I mean,
my
that's
favorite
exactly
takes.
what it is.
I'm actually going to back Cammy up on the 3v3 Rift thing, because I don't trust 6 randoms to understand anything objective mode in Destiny 2.
That is fair.
Which was a lot of the frustration I personally had with Iron Banner, is that the population in general just doesn't really get how to objective. And I can't blame them, because this is a new thing, new era for Destiny PvP. Zone control as an idea makes a lot of sense for Iron Banner. It makes a lot of sense for PvP in general. Like Cammy said, FPS player history and all of that. But the thing is, for me, I'm disappointed with Fortress, because it was zone control with a bit of like a new coat of icing. It wasn't super transformative. They were trying to paint this as a Cabal thing. I guess perhaps I expected more, which is on me. And then obviously all the other issues with Iron Banner, with the connections and the meta, really just left a sour taste in my mouth.
You mentioned you dislike Rift because other players don't really like understand how to play the mode. I still got that problem in Fortress. It's a very convoluted scoring system where at 40 points, it just resets. A lot of the randoms didn't understand that if it was really close to 40 points, like 38 points on the board, there's no reason to even try to contest a flag or capture it. You should just set up in middle. And then conversely, after the middle point is about to go away, there's no point in trying to retake it when you could be pre-spawning the next zone with a bubble or something.
Yeah,
let me tell you, the more I think about it, because I've had like a couple days to think about it. I like that we're getting more objective modes. I do enjoy that. I always feel like objective is fun. In the beginning of the season, when people were playing comp, I heard that Rift was in 3v3 and I kind of giggled. I was like, that's ridiculous. But then I played it and I was like, oh, I actually kind of enjoy it because it forces movement. And, you know, I enjoy playing the objective. But so Iron Banner Fortress, I do enjoy objective modes. I think the 2 things that soured me the most, and they both come from the current state of the meta. I'm sorry, 3 things. 2 things from the current state of the meta, 1 thing from what the fuck, which we'll get into that. But the 2 things from the meta are, 1, I play on PC. If you play on PC, you know the sound of the DMT burned into the very back of your brain. Like, a ton of DMT. It's a super hot gun right now. I do enjoy using it, but it's like, it's super wild on PC.
We got a cowboy over here.
Got a dude, every game, nothing but yeehaw. So that is kind of making the meta a little bit interesting. I was kind of doing, Cammy, what we were doing back in the day, where I try to go in and use whatever I want to have fun, but then the second I get DMT'd, I'm like, oh, we're doing this, and then I take out the DMT and
I did that today with Lemon Arc.
I show him what it's like. I take him down to the street. And then the second thing is, I don't know if you all agree or disagree, we can talk about it later, but the cooldown time on the tier 5 Ward of Dawn Titan bubble.
Gotta go.
There is no way that super should continue, in my opinion, to be
And it's
a tier
when I get a
5
chance.
super.
It has insurmountable health.
It has
650 health inside the bubble.
so much health, which, I mean, that's the design, that's the fantasy of the super, which I get. But the fact that it's the tier 5, it's the fastest super in the game. It was like by far and away the best choice for Fortress. And not only that, you hover over the game type to see what the challenges are for playing the game type. And it's like, oh, you want the challenges done? Well, you should play a Void or Stasis class.
Yeah.
Like, no, don't
I think that
encourage
we
them
would be
to do
having a
that.
different conversation about Fortress if that wasn't Stasis Void.
We would be
the entire week.
We would be having
We
a
would
different
be.
conversation if it was like play Solar or Arc or, and then point 3, which kind of soured my experience a little bit. This was by far and away the laggiest Iron Banner I have ever played in my life.
The gift.
Okay, I can agree to that. It was pretty bad.
I don't know what happened over there, what is going on. I would love to hear from Bungie.
Historically, Iron Banner has somehow always been the laggiest mode in Destiny.
Laggy banner,
Just
baby.
Every
The Iron
single
Lagger.
time. Connection-based matchmaking, skill-based matchmaking doesn't make a lick of difference. And now we have loose SPMM, which, you know, is a whole other can of worms, which I'm sure all of you are very excited to jump into at some point in your lives.
With crossplay.
With crossplay, right? But it was just dialed up to 11. And it was just bad. Like you were saying with the Void challenges, which, by the way, challenges.
Challenge.
It just really exposed the sandbox for what it was. Now, if you've ever played Zone Control Trials, you saw this coming. 100% you saw this coming. But people caught on real quick.
Yeah, 1-2 punch shotguns can't even take them out anymore, dude. Somewhere along the way that got lost.
It did. At season 17 to 18 change, something on the calculation, either the bubble health or the 1-2 punch multiplier or something, it got lost and it won't kill anymore.
Which sucks.
Then
And
they nerfed the
Greaves,
perk in
That's
season 19.
rough.
The Greaves won't take
Yeah.
them out either. So, like, and those
For
are two
Greaves to
choices.
take out, you need offensive bulwark on the
Correct.
Void.
Correct.
Yeah, it's this was the first Iron Banner where I know it's very tired and, you know, a little too on brand for streamers to complain about lag, but really I saw so many clips on Twitter that I was able to make like a full length YouTube video of all the laggiest moments in Banner, and it was just ridiculous, like the clips that I was seeing. And it was bad enough when I was playing with just a group of my homies. And then we bring in Cool Guy because I reached out and was like, hey, dude, you're playing Banner. Why don't you come join up? It could be fun. And I'm playing on PC. Cool Guy's
Only
playing
console
on...
player in the lobby.
He's the only console player in the lobby, but we bring him in. Now we've expanded. We've done the cross-platform, so now we're bringing in console lobbies. And that made it worse. Like the lag immediately, noticeably got worse when we brought in Cool Guy. So it's like, I know it's really trendy to shit on Bungie, and I do give them flack when I do believe they deserve it. And I think for Iron Banner, the connection, 100% deserved. I feel discouraged for playing with my friends because it's like, dude, the lobbies are going to become insufferable. Like, where's it coming from?
I just flat out refused to crossplay towards like the back half of that week because it was incredibly bad.
That's what happened. Kind of, yeah. I'm gonna have to figure out how to rehook up. I haven't used it in forever. I got the Xbox sitting over there. I'd love to fire it up. So that way in the future I can do some lobbies with Cool Guy and not want to bang my head against a wall. But
do you think it's a case of development cost with Bungie because every single time it comes around it's just a week and they're just like, okay, well, it's just a week, everybody will forget about it, and then every time it comes back it's like even they can't be happy with it if they play it with their friends and they have playtests. I can't imagine they're happy with the state of it.
I feel like there has to be a minimum threshold that they would hit in order to be like, that's fine. Like they have to accept some degree of lag in Banner, right? They got to be accepting to some degree. I think we're well below that degree right now. I think if they tweak it to make it somewhat bearable, then they'll probably kind of be like, yeah, it's good enough. But who truly knows what goes on in the conference rooms at Bungie? But I do hope that they did hear the community feedback regarding the lag, because I really don't feel like it was just bitching for the sake of bitching. I really
It was
felt
bad.
Like it was bad.
Yeah,
It was bad, and it was warranted to talk about it.
And I got good internet, dude. I'll upload a speed test picture on Twitter if y'all listening at home don't believe me. I got sick internet, man. That's just
this is like stat farming but for internet speeds. I like it.
I got giggers too.
I got good numbers,
2 gig,
bro.
3 gig fastness.
But I feel like if we did a redo on Banner Maybe after, I'm hoping that we're going to get some season 20 Lightfall patch notes that indicate maybe that the bubble timer is going to get changed. Maybe a different challenge in Banner, of more fresh sandbox, which is less focused on kind of like laning and hard scoping with either DMT or no time to explain, depending on what platform you play. And then I'd probably, at its core, actually enjoy the game mode, because I think it does encourage you to play kind of smart. You have to conserve your resources a little bit. It's like, do you want to use your super now, or do you want to wait for the big points coming up? 8 points away at the big zone. What do you want to do? I do think it was interesting. I think my experience was a little bit corrupted, to use a Destiny 2 term, on the things plaguing Banner. That's my spiel on it.
I got a couple things.
You got a couple things? Hit me.
Well, first, with the internet and, Steam, well, the console, when it comes to Xbox and Sony, they do have minimum requirements to play online games. Doesn't matter if it's Destiny, doesn't matter if it's Apex. And like, it's really low, right? It's like 3 meg, 5 meg, whatever it is. Like basically McDonald's Wi-Fi, right? That'll do it.
Yeah, sure.
And, publishers adhere to that. They have to accept that, right?
Yeah.
And usually in a peer-to-peer game, it's gonna find a host, but there's some server-side help. But with this in Iron Banner, and as of like the past 3-4 months, like server-side feels really bad. Like it's more than I've seen on the peer-to-peer level. It's happening like every game. There's at least one. What's that?
In PvE as well.
It's so it's got to be server-side. Now, Iron Banner Fortress. I'm going to agree with Cam. And I'm not going to throw the mode out the window, because, with everything, it can be built on, it can be changed, it can be tweaked.
There's potential there, right?
There is potential. Yeah. And I agree. I am happy that it's a 100% OBJ. That's fine. The end screen does not reflect that. The score does not matter. The turrets do not matter. There's a whole bunch of garbage on that scoreboard that does not matter. What matters is holding zones, right? And how the mode is played, I like the middle zone, because what that is, that's super o'clock. So instead of getting solo supered around the corner by that blade barrage, it's going to the bubble, right? So that's when supers are usually used. Like once you accept that, that's fine. But with how it plays, navigating the map as you're doing these zones, I hate at random times at different corners of the map, multiple sides, there's heavy ammo. I hate it, dude. That's my main complaint, because you would be rotating and you think everything's fine, but for 15 seconds in, I don't know, the back right of the corner, there was a brick that came up, and then I get Warcliffe Coil going for the zone, and I couldn't do anything about it. Am I supposed to stay away from C? Because I'm going to C to take it.
Right.
It ended up being consistent, but you're absolutely right. It didn't weird
feel
the
good.
first time you played
it. Didn't feel good. I would much rather, once that Cabal zone comes up, put up 6 of them everywhere. Everybody gets heavy ammo at that time. Everybody supers.
Oh, God.
We're taking the middle zone. Just make it chaos, right?
Just make it chaos. Lean into the mayhem aspect of it a little bit, right?
I'd much rather have that. I mean, the worst part about that is for a solid minute after that, people are going to be picking up bricks, and you're just going to get Galahorned every now and again, but it is what it is. But the mode itself, I think, did not flow right as a zone control. Like I said, just zone control with extra steps. From the heavy ammo just coming in randomly out of nowhere. The spawns are weird. Sometimes you would spawn on the big zone.
Yeah.
I have clips.
I should explain that. When the center zone's about to be up, it changes the spawn rules, and now you can spawn in the middle of the map instead of only the outskirts.
Which is cool sometimes, but most of the time, I've had a couple times where I spawned in a bubble. I'm like, well, that's the best case scenario. I mean, why not?
Yeah, right.
Until you get
winning.
overbombed.
We're winning over here, but there's been a lot of times where I've just been in the middle of nowhere, they chew through my spawn overshield, and I'm just done. I'm like, well, you could have spawned me back at A where we did have A, or when there's nobody. Yeah, it flowed weird, and that's why I didn't like it.
Yeah. Let me let me expand on one point that you mentioned earlier. If you follow me on Twitter, you may have seen that I don't know if you guys saw that tweet by me or read some of the replies in there. What a wild trip down the rabbit hole that was. I tweeted that I thought that the post-game screen for Iron Banner Fortress included a really dumb stat, which was turrets destroyed, which I will take to my grave. That is
it's a bad end screen.
It's a very bad end screen
stat.
It doesn't. It's like it's like Bungie's own MO for Iron Banner is that it's supposed to be a block party, right? Who is showing up to destroy turrets? Who's showing up to do that?
I got a good story for you on that subject, but let
me finish my dumb, pointless anecdote, but that no one needs to hear. Yeah, turrets destroyed is dumb. And I posted that on Twitter, and I also mentioned this doesn't show KD, which I feel is ridiculous because it's PvP. One of the most key pieces of information you can have at the end of the game is how hard you slay it out, even if it's an objective game, which I can get into. But like, it's like, remove the turrets destroyed stat. Please bring back KD. It's like, it's PvP. This is ridiculous. And I think that a lot of people agreed, but some people not only disagreed, they wildly disagreed. And it is good and interesting to get feedback from all sides of the fence, but it was a wild, wild day. Felt like I was channeling my inner Saltic Repo for like a hot minute, you know?
It's more of an FPS fundamental. Destiny players aren't really used to objective modes.
Yeah.
And so you kind of tunnel vision on, oh, it's an objective mode. You have to play the objective. You have to slay in order to properly play the objective, especially when our abilities are so potent. For example, if we all stand on the flag, it just takes one storm grenade to make us all not able to stand on the flag. So how do you prevent that? One person pushes up and makes that Storm Titan not have line of sight. That's it. It's that simple.
Like, okay, raise your hand if you played competitive Halo at any point in your life. There we go. Okay. You're playing 4v4, oddball. Do you just run to the middle of the map, Cammy, and just grab the oddball the second it spawns? Or do you communicate? Do you communicate with your team? Do you rush to get both the power weapon control and the map control and slay the fuck out of the enemy team to ensure that you can safely pick up the oddball and then bring it back to an advantageous position?
Yeah, or get a team pick and then go.
Spee. Like, I get it. It's an objective game type, and it is important. I wasn't saying in my tweet, like, oh, hide the objective stats. Only show KD because I'm a streamer. And we want to pop off and make YouTube content. Oh, 40 bomb.
No, we just want validation that we're making an impact in the match because the score is not going to show it. If I'm putting 6 players in the spawn screen on that 7-second respawn or whatever, and I'm not seeing zones cap, that's a team balancing problem.
Yeah.
Like Cam said in his video, like, you can't carry in it. Nothing you can do will carry the game.
You really can't.
You can't carry.
But it's like I think one of the reasons they took out KD was because of the MO we were talking about, just the block party. And it doesn't matter how you perform in a block party, you just show up, right? And I think that's what motivated the design of the end screen there, where you have no real measure of who did what except for zones captured, I think maybe, but then you have people with 0 zones captured got the most score. Like the entire ranking of the end screen has no bearing on match performance. And I think if you're going to have a game mode, if you can have a week-long celebration of PvP, quote unquote, you know, maybe celebrate PvP a bit instead of trying to hide the fact that some people are better than others.
And
I don't get this continual focus to obscure talent in Destiny 2, which I know very memeable talent in D2, but still, like we have no measure of seeing how well we did. In the current competitive system, we have no way of knowing how much we're improving, aside from an arbitrary rank, which doesn't really mean anything. And yeah, I just don't like where all of this is going, to be completely honest.
I'm just so... I know exactly, I would bet, I'm not a gambling man. If I were a gambling man, I would bet a large pile of money that I know exactly why Bungie is doing what they're doing with the Iron Banner Fortress post-game scoreboard. They want Iron Banner to be Iron Banner. It's not as competitive as Trials or Comp. It's more of like hey, let's bring in new players. It's an easier way to get, you know, like it's a more user-friendly PvP experience, right? They want to kind of lean into that, I would assume.
I suspect it's player psychology. They're just trying to trick players into saying, if you don't know what you're doing, stand on the flag.
Exactly. And they want to discourage the type of behavior where people are like, oh, it shows KD. Well, I'm going to go to the back of the map and like, you know, farm and then post a picture on Twitter. But like there are third-party websites like PvP tracker websites that keep track of that info anyway. So I don't feel like you're going to completely remove that from happening. And again, it's like you're punishing other players. I had literally people who were unironically saying like, oh, so you just want to like, you know, oh, sorry, cry me big tears because you can't make a YouTube video about how you got a 40 bomb. It's like,
I'll just pull it up on Destiny Tracker.
Call me crazy, but I can tell you that there are other reasons to want to see your KD at the end of a game. Because like if I'm trying out a new loadout or a new weapon, let's say I craft a new weapon, I kind of want to see how lethal I'm performing on average with that weapon. It's very hard to gauge that in Iron Banner when you don't see it on the KD. I had people replying to me on Twitter who considered themselves bad at PvP who are like, no, I agree. I want to see KD because I want to know how much I'm contributing it to my team in that particular department. It's not the only important thing than, you know, playing the objective, but like they want to keep track of their progress in that area. Like, it's
also
just
the start screen showed
stats.
KD anyways. The start screen showed KD anyways. So what's the point of hiding it at the end?
That's what I want to talk about. Okay. And I've felt like this since D2, well, for a long time. Okay. And I'm going to bring up Halo. And it's commonly brought up because it's a Bungie game. Okay. It's not because it's just Halo, right? It was a Bungie game, right?
Sure.
I've always felt, okay, I'm going to tie it into D2. Okay. In the beginning of this season, they did not show KD at the beginning of the game. Did you guys know that?
Yeah.
I like that. I want to continue that. What Halo did, they didn't show KD either. He had a service record. And if you clicked on somebody's service record, it was wins. And in a PvP game, it does not matter as long as you win, right? You can have a 6 KD, but if you're sitting in the back, who cares, right? You would look on Halo, and if they have 3,000 ranked games and they've won 2,800 of them, it does not matter what their KD is. They're getting ready to roll you over.
Mm-hmm.
They're getting ready to roll you over.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? So KD doesn't matter in that aspect. And I've always wished it would be about win and loss. Iron Banner, regular Crucible, because that's what should matter. But it's been glorified in a lot of different ways with our stat trackers. And I also wish that we would have a dedicated service record. And you can make it public if you want, if not just for you to show. I mean, we have them. We have the stats. You just have to pick them for your emblem. You know, your KD for the season, your KD overall, your kills overall. Big screen, service record, all that information one time. Discuss.
You would have to completely get rid of lobby balancing if you couldn't do that, because that is an artificial way to balance and enforce a 50% win-loss ratio. So in the current system, it wouldn't work. The question then becomes, do you make the service record competitive only? In which case, then you'll have to remove skill-based matchmaking, because then again, that's not a real reflection of how potent a player really is, because you don't see improvement over time.
It could be win percentage in Ascendant 1.
Yeah, or
sure,
whatever.
But how many people are going to hit Ascendant 1?
But that's so.
But it's important to the people who do. So
Halo had customs ranked and social. It could kind of be the same deal. Because in theory, yeah, it is skill-based. It's supposed to do a 50-50 win-loss rate. 50s played 50s, but you know there would still be really high win rates. It's also just how Destiny's kind of evolved and devolved in a way over the years with how it's doing those stats. Because like you said, this is a pure OBJ game mode. Everything that we've ever had is Slayer with extra steps. People play it as Slayer with extra steps. So
ranked by zones captured.
Boom.
I want all the information that I can get to judge my personal performance, and I feel like that info is relevant in PvP.
Did you know Gambit used to have an advanced stat screen?
Did it?
Yes.
I would love an advanced stat screen.
Come on, brother.
I am all for tracking your own improvement over time.
Sure.
That's one of the reasons I started doing this in the first place. And but every decision we've seen for the PvP has been in the opposite direction of that. We've had skill-based matchmaking involved, which is important because it is well known that you only improve incrementally. You cannot just throw a baby in the deep end and expect them to swim, right? It's the same thing. You have to progress your improvement stages. And I think skill-based matchmaking is a very lazy way to do that, because the real way to do that is rank ladder system, and that's a lot of work, and there's a lot of we've done that story, done that song and dance. Everybody knows what I'm about to say about that. So it takes a long time to really get good, and people don't measure. People aren't sticking around in PvP, at least, for a long time. They're getting their pinnacles and they're getting out, and their data supports probably that most people are just there for 3 games and out. So their entire design motivation would be to make sure those 3 games are as pleasant and as less stressful as possible. But if you wanted to really make PvP a focus, prioritize improvement and design around improvement.
Yeah, and you remember them saying, I forget who it was, when it was, but it was a while ago, that one of the main reasons for a player quitting Destiny was after a PvP game.
Gigantic blowout in PvP.
Never picking the game back up because of that.
Yep.
So let's have an Iron Banner mode where you can spawn in after 20 seconds and somebody's got Warcliffe oil. That's a good idea.
Well, I think Eruption, the previous Iron Banner game mode, kind of speaks to that mentality, because if you perform well, you start getting punished.
Especially on the larger maps where you can't even make it to mid before you blow up.
Yeah.
No healing grenade will help you.
Do we have any final thoughts to share on Iron Banner? Not to cut the discussion in the but because we do have other topics to move on to in a timely manner. But Cammy, please, final thoughts.
I'll just summarize what was fun about it. There were certain builds that came up because it's a true objective mode that wouldn't have got as much mileage in any other game mode in the game. And it was also really fun to blow up bubbles, because there are a couple ways to kill them, even in neutral without a super. And having it happen not just once, not twice, up to 5 times a game is hilarious.
It is very satisfying to kill a bubble titan, I will say.
Also, the turrets, as lame as they are, if you play in an organized 6-man team, you can kind of abuse the turrets to make war mine cells or farm orbs of light or something like that.
Right. I was using it to proc Revision 0 the whole time. It was fantastic.
Yeah, you can proc
very easily.
DMT, you can proc Hawkmoon. This will eventually be a video for me, so I don't mind saying it.
Yeah.
We would put a bubble over the turrets, and then I would just sit in there with Blight Ranger and just create the Reckoning in there.
Yes, dude, that's
so
what
funny.
Dude, you got to use Blight Ranger when those turrets come out, man.
I tried to kill other people with the turrets. The turrets shoot at me and I reflected into them.
It 2-taps them, dude.
I was using
650%
DMT
more damage
to get up to ×5 cranial spike immediately. That was pretty funny, getting that ×5 and then being like, all of you are dead.
Is a tier 1 super. A bubble, a tier 5.
Mm-hmm.
What if I told you that when the turrets drop down, I got my teammate 2 behemoths in a row, 0 cooldown?
Oh my god.
You're bad, man.
So I called this the alternate win condition, because if you set that up, right, if you get first bubble and first Blight Ranger on the turrets, there's no way you lose from there, because you pretty much have infinite super for the rest of the game.
That's goddamn funny. I love it. So we would love to hear from you. I know we are streaming live right now on twitch.tv. If you're in our Twitch chat, please feel free to weigh in with your thoughts on Iron Banner Fortress, or if you're listening wherever you listen to fine quality gaming podcasts, be sure to reach out to us on Twitter, Twitch, Discord, wherever. Yeah, YouTube, whatever. Let us know what you think about Iron Banner Fortress, please.
So I talked about the fun. My 2 complaints, since they probably want feedback. The power ammo was random. Cool guy said that. And secondly, some of the maps just don't work. Rusted Lands, A flag was way too weighted towards the center zone.
Yeah.
So if you didn't have A flag, you just lost.
It's a whole whole different can of worms.
The score condition, if you won the second zone, it was basically game over, and you had a point lead.
There wasn't enough score left.
Yeah, there was no way to come back from a 105 to 75 game.
Pretty strong.
On that note, if you are standing on a flag to neutralize, it shouldn't allow the points to bleed again. It should just pause it so you have a chance at a comeback.
I agree with that. Yeah.
So we're going to move on to some breaking D2 news that happened on I think it was broken on Twitter the other day, which I think a lot of people are excited
Alesto
about.
breaks D2 every week.
And then after that, we'll dig into a few community questions. But for right now, the latest D2 news. If you're following Destiny the game on Twitter, 3 pieces of information that we can go through, I guess one at a time. First thing is that all standard armor mods, everything but I believe raid armor mods, are now unlocked for every player. And I think that actually went into effect today, right?
Yep.
It did, yeah.
That deserves a round of applause from everybody here and in chat.
Massive golf clap for sure. Big.
The elusive fire team medic is mine. It's the only one I was missing.
Yeah, I had another. I feel like half of my anecdotes are like, oh, I had an interesting interaction on Twitter. Yeah, I said it was huge. I retweeted and someone was like, well, it's not really huge for veterans. I was like, no, it surely is.
Not
I
everybody
can
has subscribe to 801 YouTubers, man. Come on.
I know content creators who are missing key armor mods, right? Up until half a year ago, or maybe it was like 3 months ago, I was missing Seeking Wells. Like I know every content creator is missing at least one.
It's about the friends that you make that want to get into Destiny, and you're like, oh man, this build's really cool.
Exactly.
You have Seeking Well Maker, right? Oh no, you don't.
Oh no,
okay,
you don't.
guess
Oh,
you
never
don't get to
mind.
use it.
Your build's trash.
And like nothing can replace it. It's irreplaceable.
It's irreplaceable.
Right?
Like there, and that's not just for one. That's not just for Seeking Wells. There's a whole bunch of unique ways that you can build your Guardian for PvP and PvE. That if you don't have these certain interesting builds, like when I'm trying to help a friend at PvP who's fairly new, and they're like, "Well, can you talk me through your build?" And I talk it through, and I'm like, "Oh, and then you have to have this important mod." Quick charge. I never make a PvP build without quick charge because I'm a filthy shotgun ape. And they're like, oh, I don't have that. It's like, well, fuck you, I guess. Like, but it's just there's a lot of armor mods that are just key, and it's better for new lights, people who have maybe been away from the game for a while, and it's like, should I come back to Destiny? Oh, that's the key meta build. I don't have those perks. I'm not going to come back. It's good for new and returning players. Anyone who's missing, hole punches in their armor loadout. It's great news, and it's a great move by Bungie. How do we think...
I mean,
go ahead.
top DPS strats for like Rolk and like all, involve getting charged with high energy fire, It's like, oh, well, you're new. Well, okay.
Yeah.
You'll get it.
There's damage stacking and some things superseded, like Tether just supersedes everything, I believe. But yeah, no, for sure. Like Argent Ordnance was part of the meta at one point. And that was huge.
That's big.
Slayer warheads.
The fault of might and like syncing with your team, that's the big one. And anytime you add a new player, like a new Destiny player to the team, you gotta always have that conversation. Now you don't.
Good.
Why do we think that? I mean, of course, we think Bungie is doing this to make it a more accessible experience for sure. How do we think it is going to tie into Lightfall?
No idea. Surprise me.
Strand-related mods that will be unlockable through some sort of bounty system.
I don't think they'd make the same mistake again, but mark my words.
Go ahead.
The loadout system, right? Aren't they adding a loadout feature?
They are. I was half scolded, I would say, by someone who said, why do you guys always record your podcast before a big TWAB drops? Because I think they were alluding to the fact that this is going to be expanded upon in tomorrow's TWAB, which is January 12th. So if by the time you're listening to this over the weekend, what was that?
So you need to stop fighting with people on Twitter, dude.
Yeah, man. What the hell?
It wasn't really a fight.
Like
it wasn't a fight.
Like
it was like, hey, we're recording tonight. And they were like, why do you do this? I'm like, I'm sorry. It's just the timing of how we all get together. I apologize.
Don't you know that people's opinions don't matter? You're the content creator.
And you're wrong. So
yeah.
Oh my Lord. Yeah. So by the time you're listening to this over the weekend, you may already know the answer of what they're going to do, because I think they're going to expand on that info in the TWAB. But I think that there's going to be some kind of hinting to a new exciting loadout system, including armor mods in some way, which I think is great. I hope they will continue to make new armor mods, and then I don't know if they want to unlock them right away for everybody, or make them kind of, maybe you can obtain them somehow during a season, and then after that season is over, maybe they're added to the world bank of mods. I'm not quite sure what their plan is, but anything to make the game more new player friendly, return player friendly, I think is a really good idea. So yeah. Moving on to the next bullet point. Starting next week, focusing costs for Trials, Iron Banner, PvP, and Gambit weapons will be reduced to 25 shards, legendary shards.
Overdue. Very overdue.
Very,
and
very
also
overdue.
very, very, I'm sure you were glad to hear that, Fallout?
Dude, I'm broke. This is the lowest I've ever been on legendary shards. I'm down to like 300 now, which is insane to some people.
Yeah.
There was a weekend where, if you recall, Trials was glitched, and you could, after you went flawless, you could just go back to St. 14 at the tower, and you could just keep picking up a new card, and it would just come into your inventory flawless, and then you could just return that flawless card in for more adept loot. And it was the hand cannon, and I really wanted a lot of rolls on that hand cannon, so the whole weekend I was just turning in, and I went from from 15,000 legendary shards down to about 1,000.
Very tough vault decisions were made that weekend, man.
Tough decisions were made.
I'm looking forward to the Dado vault cleaning video where they go through all your exalted truths, and he's gonna be like, "What the hell?
What are you doing,
like,
you idiot?
Stockholm syndrome, man. Leave me alone."
Like
I have. This is my therapy. Leave me alone. These roles represent a difficult time in my life. I want to keep them.
And man, it came at it's better late than never. But I really wish they had done it a couple days earlier, because we just came off of Iron Banner Fortress, and I turned in a buttload to try and get a god roll of that shotgun, which is pretty spicy, by the way. Spicy shotgun. I don't think we talked about that yet, but it's hot. And yay! And they're lowering the adept focus for Trials weapons down to 50. Good stuff. Overdue. Hope that is kind of an alleviated thing. Do we even, this might be a bold question, do we even need legendary shards in the game anymore? Are they?
I feel redundant.
Well, considering there's been so many exploits in the past, no, because if there's one exploit, it just kills it forever.
There has to be a currency for that.
There's a lot of currency. Indeed.
And
too.
but like Glimmer's like the overall, I mean, it's money, right? Money is going to be
money.
It's going to be the base, but you add on, right? So it has to cost something. It has to have a...
Sure.
There's a material economy around it. It's enhancement cores, then enhancement prisms, and then ascendant shards. And ascendant alloys and legendary shards both are the currencies that just sort of stand alone. Whereas ascendant alloys are very key to crafting weapons, so you can argue they're extremely, extremely valuable. Legendary shards are just kind of like a relic of a bygone era of Destiny 2. Like, at one point you needed legendary shards to infuse things. You needed legendary shards to upgrade your weapons, I believe. I could be wrong on that. But now there is no real use for them aside from, material exchange and focusing. That's about it. So perhaps it is necessary, but I would like to see it being incorporated into more key things if you're going to keep it around.
I was just spitballing, as it were. Just want to see what the general thought process is there. Final note from the news train. Grandmaster Nightfall power level being reduced. Grandmaster Nightfall's return to the game on January 17th. The recommended power for the current season is going to be 1620, but the entry power level is going to be 1595. So I know we're
for the first time ever, I can do opening Grandmasters.
I was going to say, we might actually be able to do a couple GMs together, buddy.
Your boy made it.
Normally, this is how the conversations with me and Cool Guy go. He's like, dude, you want to grind this week? It's the insert whatever, the horror's least adept. I want to get a god roll. And I'm like, yeah, man, I'll let you know when I'm farming. Fast forward like 2 days, whatever. Call up a man. I'm like, yo, today's farm day. Ready to go? He's like, oh, dude, I'm like 12 levels under the power. I'm like, what are you doing? I'm making videos, man. Yeah, I think a good call by Bungie to make that more accessible. They did say on Twitter they were going to keep it difficult content. They just want to make the
entry point
a little bit
accessible.
more broad, which I think is smart. They're going to keep the
Like,
the
I
content
get it
challenging.
from Bungie's POV. It's so much more respectful to the player to just hard cap it at like -25 no matter what.
Yeah.
Make the entry possible. Because you end a season doing GMs, and then one day passes, next season starts, and now you can't do them anymore.
Yeah.
It's just, it feels weird to players and like trying to coordinate with friends who are a little more casual.
It's very odd. And like, look, not to pat myself on the back or anything, but like I know a thing or two about this game. If I'm 5 levels under what the requirement is for the Nightfall, let me in. I can make that work. I can make that bed rock. Like, don't lock the door because I didn't hit the magic number, which is too high.
It's an arbitrary level because once you're in there, everybody's equal, right? Like your contest mode in a way. You're power capped. Doesn't matter. It's just an entry fee. It's a cover charge.
But
and I don't get that.
But yeah, but even if it was like, even if I was still under to a degree, it's like, let me in, man. I'll make it work.
Yeah.
It just means I have to think harder about my strategy and where to go and what to shoot and how to make my build and all that junk, you know?
Entrance exam.
The old entrance exam.
They've been doing that though.
Quiz you.
I didn't
They
bring
did
it
with
up.
some of the seasonal content, yes. It's a huge change and a great one.
But like,
yeah, smart.
I mean, Iron Banner cap going away, unlocking all mods, doing this. I mean, they are just making it the entry more appealing to players.
Well,
And,
difficulty should always be opt-in. Like, and
yes.
This is a good start, but the ultimate goal should be just whatever. You can do it whenever. Maybe you want to time get it. Maybe you want to keep it at that 6-week mark because it's better for seasonal flow, and that's fine. But just do what Heist Battlegrounds is doing. Give it playlist rules. -25 straight off the grip. No matter what you are, this is what you're dealing with.
And we have someone in our live Twitch chat right now, Reality, verbally mentioning that, I don't know where that number is being pulled from, but I do believe that is probably an accurate number, that only about maybe 10% of the active player base plays Grandmaster Nightfalls. Yeah, let's bump that up. It's like, it's fun, challenging PvE content with a shot at actually respectable loot. That should be in Bungie's best interest, to keep the content challenging, but to allow more people to at least pop their foot in the door, see what it's all about, right?
And it's not, I don't think that's even about, casuals versus veteran players. It's funny because someone said on Twitter, oh, I forget even what the topic was, but you hear it all the time, it's just for the casuals. And I started thinking, it's like a question of life. Like, does anyone actually play Destiny casually anymore at this point? But anyway.
That's a really good question.
I have a few
I'll
friends,
answer that for you in a
just,
yeah, really.
I definitely have a few friends who'd like to pop in every once in a while, and they actually, touch wood, they play Destiny for the story, if you can believe that.
They've done a lot better with that too. Like the game,
no, they have definitely.
Yeah,
it wasn't so long
ago that was a meme. It wasn't so long ago that was a meme, but yeah, definitely last year or so it's been killer. But I think there definitely are people who play Destiny casually, far more than anybody in this Twitch chat, anyways. Because, well, we're off the deep end in terms of like commitment.
We're in there.
We're in there.
Yeah,
we're in
all
there.
of you, you're crazy. We
So
love
I have
you.
some friends that are hardcore into other MMOs, and so when they hear my friend group talk about Destiny, they're intrigued. But when they want to try it out, we have to tell them that conversation. Oh well, we got to visit 801 every day. Then you have to farm this and that and this, and then you have to use the build like this. And only then, after playing maybe 100 Vanguard strikes, will you have the level necessary for the game to be challenging enough to be fun. And they're like, oh, fuck that. I'm doing something else. And I'm like, no. Borrow my alt account.
Yeah.
Here, take the keys to the Lambo. Take it on my alt account and enjoy it. Now that process, it's not there anymore. It's just they have everything unlocked and it's easier.
Yeah.
Now they get to experience, in my opinion, the fun parts of Destiny 2 immediately.
Get right to the fun part.
And sure. Once I saw that, immediately I thought, because a lot of people they either haven't had the mods or they don't use the mod system. I mean, let's be real here. Charge with Light has been dead for a long time, but it's still like a very big part of the game. Even Warmind sells, especially with the Icolos V3s coming, right?
Mm-hmm.
But like, what if they were to redo the introductory to Destiny? I mean, with whatever they're doing now, which I know is bad, I remember playing it. It was just bad.
Whatever they're doing right now.
Whatever they're doing, but like,
bad.
you know, incorporate, because, you know, in the beginning, like if D1, like it would highlight, it's like, hey, you know, equip this mod, maybe walk through Charge with Light, walk through the wells, walk through the War Mine cell.
That would be really good if they had kind of like a separate little tutorial mode for all the new lights out there, taught by, I don't know,
throw them in a simulation.
Yeah,
go survive.
Yeah. That would be.
Here, meditate at the build crafting station.
Oh, the possibilities.
High energy fire.
This is the loot cave. Man. Really quick, 5-minute conversation, because I realized we moved beyond Iron Banner without talking about the actual loot. We only talked about the game type itself. How are we feeling about the Iron Banner loot situation?
Shotgun's
right now?
goated. I wish they would bring back some of the older, more potent Iron Banner weapons.
Shotgun is cash money, although I'm still feeling like I like my Inquisitor a little more. But then again, I didn't get my 5/5 roll on the Ganora's axe, so
yeah,
gonna have
if
to
it's
try
an Iron Banner weapon, I always
time.
prioritize it because of Skulking Wolf origin trait. If you get a kill while critically wounded, you are off the radar.
It's a great,
nothing in the game is better than that.
Great origin trait, super good.
Very, very good. Yeah, Ganora's axe definitely was worth farming for, but Dark Decider, oh my god,
I cannot get behind that, and I will never get behind that gun.
No. I'm on Team Cool Guy for this one.
I'm on Team Cool Guy. Yeah.
Yeah, 50 base recoil direction with worse stats than Chroma Rush. I'm out.
It's not good, fam. That's not good.
A good player will make anything work. A good player will make
the
Sand Wasp work, which is a blue weapon. But with everything there, like you have to, you know, at the time, the cost of getting rolls of them. Like, no,
dude,
do not do that.
I was saying,
we have an entire expansion coming. Dark Decider with Volt Shot. Go get an Ikelos. Same range. You're good.
It's a bummer for me because I really was crossing my fingers that I would get a good drop on that shotgun, and it costed a lot of currency for me, and I didn't get one, and I was just frustrated, being like, dude, for me, it's going to be different for everybody, right? But for me, way easier to farm the Inquisitor, right? Because, like, I know, again, I'm speaking as a elitist streamer, which I apologize for, but I'm saying for me, I know my experience is not everybody's experience.
As long as the KD shows at the end, we're good.
I go into trials, I play my balls off, I get that flawless, you know, and then as long as you have that flawless card, you can just keep going in on Sunday and Monday. And as long as you get a win, even if your card is tainted and you get the red X and your card is flawed, every time you get a win on that formerly flawless card, there is a shot that you can get an Inquisitor to drop. That is a great system. I love that system. It encourages me to play the game more, and it's I don't know, it's just whatever. If we could somehow take that and adapt that into Iron Banner somehow, rather than me just kind of like crossing my fingers and hoping I get that 5/5 drop by just turning in the engrams for all the money in all my legendary shards. I mean, they're reducing the cost, but hopefully the new reduced cost is better. But
when you put it that way, contrary to the Twitter discourse, I really like the flawless pool. It's the best system we've had for loot specifically. So when people are like, "Oh no, it's the flawless pool," I'm like, "Oh yes, I get to farm and play opponents at my skill level." Like that's the best case scenario.
The Cami takes are on point tonight.
You know, what would be wrong? I mean, I'm going to tie in the original D1 Gunsmith. Like, what would be wrong for those weapons? Like, yeah, you could still focus them, and they brought it down to 25.
Mm-hmm.
But like, what would be wrong with a repeatable bounty on the gun, like in D1, where you would get 100 shotgun kills? Yeah, it's going to be a lot, but it's a free bounty after you complete 100 shotgun kills. Or 50. I mean, you just pick a number.
Pick a number. Yeah.
you get the gist of it. But like a redoable bounty, I mean, for the weapon. Period.
I could be into that. I don't know. I'll hold my thoughts until we get that new reduced cost.
But the bounty is linked to a random drop.
All right, get out. All I know is that
I'm spoiled by crafting, but on the other, a lot of the best weapons in the game are still behind like wild RNG, like 1 out of 12, 1 out of 12.
Every
Yeah.
time there is a spicy Gambit weapon, I cry. Because that means that not only do I have to play Gambit, and it's like the
Double
odds
EXP
are...
week.
Hey,
this
bro,
week.
whenever you want to
odds
go in
are
there,
like-
you tell me.
They're
Okay.
like 1 in 65,000 that you're going to get the
just have to
exact
ask.
5-5 roll that you're
Oh,
looking
we
for.
didn't
Just have to
mention
ask.
about teams organizing specifically to lose really quick in Iron Banner because it's more
Yes, holy
efficient for the
Oh wow, we did forget to
rotation.
talk about that. Let's talk about that really quick.
Yeah.
If they lose fast, it's more rep per hour than winning slow.
They call it
Like,
lost farming, and there were a
So
bunch
that's-
of people in my Twitch chat who were like, "Wow, you guys are popping off right now." I was like, "No, they are lost farming." So it was discovered that at the the max. Well, after you've played,
Not new, by the way, but more popular as of
new.
recent.
not new, not a new concept to throw and succeed, but
We used to do that on Gambit. It's just play our absolute hardest until we see they hit a break point. We're like, it's faster to lose, just lose.
yeah.
Yeah.
So basically, after you've played enough Gambit, after you've played enough Iron Banner, look what you did, cool guy.
Iron Banner, brother.
Ding ding. It becomes really fast and efficient to get that banner rep by just losing, which is really easy and fast to do in
And a
Iron
bad
Banner
luck.
Fortress, because you, as long as you don't capture any territories, because again, it is not kill based. The score is calculated on how many territories you're holding. So a
Understand,
lost
yeah.
farming team allows the other team to come in and take all three. And you either sit in the back of the map and emote, or if you're a curious breed who wants to lost farm yet preserve your KD, you will get in the back of the map and lane with a DMT or a no time. And you're throwing the game pretty much. And in 3 minutes, the game will be over. And there were a lot of teams doing that. What was that, Nomad?
So I was going to say it was pretty much limited to teams of 6 from my experience. I didn't play
Mine
in a
too.
team of 6 because I was absolutely like lag was too much.
Yeah.
And there was fire team based matchmaking. I think for the first time that was really, really cool.
Yes.
Oh, that's
Where-
another tangent.
That was
I
a
wanna say
big
good
thing
things
that
about
they
that.
added. I think that was smart and good.
Yeah, so 6s would play 6s, 4s would play 4s, that
Yeah.
sort of thing.
Roger.
Very rarely did I match against anybody in a stack greater than 3, which was really cool to see as a solo player. So if you were in a stack, there was a good chance that, like a full 6 stack, you were going to come across a lost farm team. But if you played normally, if you played solo or
Mhm,
with just 1 or 2 friends,
You're
you probably
gutting it
never
out.
saw that.
Never. Yeah.
Yeah.
When I played solo, never ran into it. When I played with a full team of 6, we ran into a bunch, and they popped up more and more. When the weekend hit, that's when it really exploded. Like Monday to Friday, I didn't see any. I didn't even hear about it, I think, until Saturday.
The hockey emblems are on the other
The old hockey casino
What
open
are we
again, baby.
doing?
And there were
So
a
it was-
lot of interesting takes from community members on that. And I still don't know where I fall, you know?
220 rep for a loss, 330 for a win. It's maths. It's
Oh my God.
if
You have to, if Bungie wants
Yeah.
that problem to go away, they have to give more for a win, right? Like,
or lose
Yes.
or less for a
or
loss.
less for a
Punish
loss.
for inting.
Whatever you would want to do. I think knowing Bungie, they would probably give more for a win as to still encourage
Yeah.
people to play, because there's still
But
rep to
even
be
so,
gained
like,
from losing.
Even so, it's still too much rep for a loss, because I think somebody did the maths and that you needed. I think it was like somebody said that I did my loss farming from like rank 5 to second reset in 90 minutes, which I thought was quite extraordinary.
very
given how-
fast. Yeah.
That's very fast. But anywhere from 90 minutes to 3 hours, I think you could have done max rank, even just loss farming,
Yeah.
which is bad.
It's not good.
That's not good.
It is.
Dude, I'm gonna be real with you.
Keep it real, son.
I don't think it's a reflection of the game mode and the sandbox. That's why people did that. It was not fun going against
100%.
5 bubbles. Like, and that's on Bungie. Period.
Yeah.
No matter how you shake it. I don't really care about, this score and that score and more rep and less rep. Like, it wasn't fun to play for a number of reasons, and that's why people did that.
Yeah.
What are those
think it's what-
reasons? Why was it not fun? Let's fix those. That's how I feel.
So
ultimately.
the good news is that after you beat a team that badly, the algorithm, the matchmaking algorithm kicks in, and they're like, okay, we're not going to put you up against that team. So if I was in the mood to, you know, frag out and go hard, you fight a lost farming team. It's like, well, at least we're probably going to get not a lost farming team next game. It'll only be a 3-minute waste of my time, free rep for me, right? So at least it's not making the player experience miserable for many people, unless you're really in the mood to really go balls deep, you know?
The shader and the armor were dope too. I mean, that's
shader's dope. And again, it's one of those situations where I don't blame, to me, it's on Bungie. The onus right now is on Bungie to see that is the thing going on that they need to address. Am I going to do it? No. Am I going to blame you for doing it? No, because I don't know what your situation is. Maybe you have 10 goddamn kids and you only have time to play, you know, 1 hour every other night or something like that.
You're that guy replying on to the Bungie Help Twitter.
Exactly. Yeah.
I work 5 jobs. I got 10 kids.
Exactly. I don't know what your situation is. I don't know how much time you have to play. So I'm not going to judge you for what you do in your spare time. But I would say that from Bungie's POV, if you see that the most optimal way to gain loot from a new game mode is to throw, I would say that's bad.
Another aspect we're kind of missing with this is that there's only 2 Iron Banners, and you have a really good reward locked behind 2 resets. Who the hell is going to do that without trying to find some way to make that faster, right? Yeah. Like the shader itself is gorgeous, turning cloth into chainmail for sure.
Beautiful.
Like even if you don't have any inkling about fashion, it's still a cool shader. And it was a shader, not even a weapon, which is a whole other story to talk about. But yeah, only 2 Iron Banners. Like I was tempted to do it because I barely hit one reset this week. And I don't know if I'm going to hit a reset the next week. I don't know if I'm going to be into Destiny by the time next Iron Banner is coming around, which, by the way, we have no idea when it's going to come.
No idea.
Probably week 10, historically. But like that's not communicated ahead of time. So it's a pretty brutal rep system for the fact that you only get to play it twice a season.
I would agree.
It's also not communicated how much that multiplier helps you, dude.
Yes.
And I would check so many people, no Iron Banner gear on, not even the emblem on.
Oh,
and like that's
brutal.
one of the most basic things.
True. Yeah, you gotta wait for later in the week.
You gotta beat him over the head with that info.
Yeah, so the only way you do it is to scroll all the way bottom left, hover over a node to see if you're 3 out of 4, 4 out of 4, how many challenges you're at. Then the challenges itself, it doesn't tell you the challenges. You have to hover over the node for the game mode. And notice at the bottom.
And then the challenges themselves are be void.
Be void.
Be void. If you couldn't figure it out,
just be void.
Once you get in there, it's right there. But
yeah,
that should be it. That UI should be better too.
That was very interesting.
Because it is like the worst rank up in the game, Iron Banner, without that on.
I think that I want to be fair when I say this. Is that like I think for maybe this strategy, I don't know if Bungie maybe was aware or thought that people might do this, and they maybe just were like, screw it. Or maybe the cheese team, the Bungie cheese team maybe didn't go hard enough in sniffing that one out, because it was, again,
the cheddarology.
Yeah, I mean, I don't blame people for doing it.
It's definitely not a victimless crime, because there are teams that want to play the mode against other teams.
Sure.
But it's also pretty painless because you're getting more rep anyway. And
yeah,
for some players, they really are casual to the point where, like, I remember myself in high school, I had so much homework. If I can bang out Iron Banner losses while doing my homework, that just means I get to game more later in the day.
Exactly. I understand why people did it. I would never blame a player for lost farming. It's the onus is on Bungie to prevent things like that from happening. And again, there's only 2 Iron Banners, and the shader looks dope. Do what you have to do to get the shader, but like, it's just a funny situation.
No,
and they have the data. They'll make it right.
Like, think about Trials cliff jumping, right? Same deal.
Same exact deal.
You don't and we learn from that, or I think we learned from that, but don't blame the players for choosing the path they take. Blame the system for encouraging it.
100%.
Agreed.
100%.
Path of least resistance is always a path
always be taken.
That will be followed.
That will be followed every single time. And with that, why don't we move on to community questions? And there were quite a few. Thank you for submitting your questions on Twitter. Let's see, here we go. If you boys have the outline up, feel free to comb through and find one that might suit your fancy. I think here's an interesting one from RFLX Point. Favorite flavor of Borealis, Hardlight, and Dead Messenger?
Dead Messenger, I think.
No, favorite flavor, as in
flavor.
which,
Okay.
yeah, you know what I'm saying, which element. Now that elemental capacitor has
Blue's my color, so arc. No, I think I think anything with max handling is my favorite thing right now.
and that would be arc, right? Isn't it arc for handling? It is void
Correct.
for stability,
Stability.
and solar for
Then-
reload, right?
And
Yeah,
AE.
so what's crazy is like I think Borealis has arc, and it's so weird because like Hardlight you can't do void. It's already at 100.
Hmm.
You could do handling. So basically, a max out handling or a max out reload, and then for Dead Messenger it'd be reload, right? It'd be solar.
Yeah.
All these guns default to void off of spawn, right?
Correct.
Yeah, they do.
That is driving me crazy.
That's
I wish,
the big one for me too. Is I just don't change it because I use volatile rounds anyway.
Just they need to make it so that
Madman.
whatever flavor you have turned on, then when you die and come back, it's still on that flavor. No, like I
Agreed.
don't want to have to cycle through each time. That's so lame.
Like Hardlight is immediately void because it's stability. Borealis, you probably make a case for handling, but then again, its stats are really, really good, right? Cool guy.
I've seen a lot of Borealis, dude. Seriously.
Yeah. And then Dead Messenger solar is the only option if you want to continuously change it. But then you could also say you want arc because of the swap speed.
So
So yeah,
it's a good change. Like little things like that go a long way.
For sure.
Agreed.
Here's a question from I Am Corhole. If you could revamp the vault and the postmaster, what would you do?
I think everyone would be unanimous in saying that the postmaster needs a special section for your mats, right? It needs a section for your ascendant shards. That way they aren't immediately like, dude, the dawning made me so mad, dude, because like you would open presents and it would blues would push it all out.
Oh
like,
my god, dude!
in seconds.
Speaking of why blues at all, why not just auto dismantle blues?
There needs to be an auto dismantle blue system or a thing.
We did that in D1, right? We did it to greens.
Did we? Yeah, I
which,
think
by
we
the
did.
way, there were green
green
drops
stopped.
in D1.
Yeah, green.
Hey, but there were some goated
stopped going,
greens. You had the final round sniper and the focus fury or focus fire machine gun.
Dude,
Those
the
were
Mav
actually pretty
Moon,
good.
the 4-round.
True. The 4-shot hand cannon.
I remember for a while in
With
early D2, I used the hand in hand, the green shotgun. I
Yes.
remember that. I think it was dope.
I do.
But
What if
yeah.
you could? Sorry to interrupt. What if you
Of course.
could for the vault? What if there was a way to stack copies of different weapons that you have, and
You
then
click on it and it would open.
and it's just drop down, yeah.
Oh, that's an
Like, I feel like that
interesting
would-
idea.
That would be a good way to not only save a ton of space, especially if you're a content creator that reviews weapons,
yeah.
but also if you want to save weapons through expansions instead of just like, okay, well, this is now about power crept, so now I don't need it anymore,
Yeah.
and you don't have to make that decision anymore. So I feel like that feels like a lot of work, but
That would be
Folders would be
interesting.
nice. Just
That would be
folders in
interesting.
general.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, Dylan, apparently, according to, I'm really sad. I just remembered that DMG is gone. DMG said that they were working on an auto dismantled blue system with the last interview he had with Paul Tassi before leaving.
Ah, okay.
I'm pretty sure Paul pressed him on that. So
He definitely probably did. Here's a question so good. I'm actually really impressed by this question. I may turn this into a YouTube video. From Ted Milky. What are your 3 top guns to craft before Lightfall? That is a great question. What is it's the disparity, right? The pulse rifle.
Yep.
That thing is that's craftable, correct?
It is very craftable.
That thing is a
and,
baller.
It is.
yes. So let's
Amazing
set the tone. Let's set
Sure.
the tone.
Set the tone, buddy.
People play different parts of the game. Some are mostly PvE, mostly PvP. Say someone has played a little bit. They want to know. They don't have them, right? Let's recommend 3 guns. So one of mine would either be Tarnished Metal or the Ikelos for a mid or long range volt shot. Doesn't matter which one you do. Whichever one you like.
SMG.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
A volt shot weapon. A craftable
yeah.
volt shot weapon. That's where I would start. As a must have.
Mandatory. Yeah. And dude, the Ikelos, I've actually seen a lot of clips that gun pops off in PvE and
Bro,
PvP.
Killing Wind, rangefinder, you want 2 of them.
Sick, dude.
Right?
I'm literally working on getting the craftable version of that right now because the clips I've seen them, and like I'm an SMG guy. When I play Titan, I love the Peacekeepers, dude. That is hot. And just going through with a good SMG, I'm really looking forward to getting my crafted Ikelos, like big time.
So disparities up there. I would also make a case. I know this is a weird one, but Firefight. There's something just very nice about that auto rifle.
I've always liked that. I've always liked that gun too.
It's one of those. It's one of those like, you good, bro? Type weapons, but like,
you good,
it's still like there's. I think just on feel alone, it's worth crafting. It's not the most like spectacular thing in the world, but you can definitely. There's definitely enough perks in there to make it your own.
Sure.
Disparity is definitely one of it's definitely top 3, I find. Peace of Mind, I don't know if that's going away. That must be going away.
Oh, that is a great. That's like the SpongeBob
Rapid
meme.
fire pulse.
That's the SpongeBob meme with opening up the case for old reliable. That's when I play on controller. When I plug in the sticks, Peace of Mind is a controller weapon in PvP that never disappoints ever. It's so reliable.
Ever.
Yeah.
I have my 3.
What are your 3, Cammy?
Okay, in no specific order, the Ikelos SMG with max range. These are all PvP, by the way.
Sure.
The second one, this one's gonna sound weird. It's one of the first craftables we got, the Roggenhild shotgun. Why? Yeah. Because it's an aggressive frame with Hawkeye breach armaments, and we all dislike Titans, right? Right. Anyhow, you craft it with high handling and either frenzy, if you're a Gemini hunter. Elemental capacitor if you're an arc class, or if you are a stasis warlock, 1-2 punch to kill bubbles. I know you're doing like a raid boss fighting game combo to kill bubbles, but it is possible, so you can do that. And then the third is the under your skin bow with hipfire grip and opening shot. You don't even need targeting. It's just something you swap to if you know you need the range.
Really? I'd love to.
It's super consistent. Enhanced hipfire grip doesn't play by the same rules as hipfire grip.
Okay.
Kind of think like enhanced perks in general are kind of a mistake on the crafting system, but we'll get into that another time.
For sure.
Point is, abuse it. It's built diff, so use it.
Write it down. Here's a question from G Brew. Since y'all have the pulse rifle daddy on the podcast, how do y'all feel about pulses and laning in general in the current meta?
Inevitable, really. You have the ability meta, which is so, I feel oppressive is hyperbole, but it's very, very strong to the point where it basically nullifies the close to mid-range meta, where if you choose to use a slug shotgun or a sidearm or an SMG or even a hand cannon, you are playing with fires. Like the other person might just whip out a cold snap or a storm grenade or whatever tool of destruction that they may have on a cooldown for 20 seconds, right? So that's always the choice. It's not that if you play those weapons, you're putting yourself at a disadvantage. You're making a choice to subject yourself to abilities, and I think most people don't want to do that because they're so strong. So what's the counter? You stay back. It's much easier to dodge a grenade chucked halfway across the map than it is to deal one while you're trying to engage short range. So pulses and scouts and all the other stuff that are rising to the top, it's because the mid-range isn't the preferred space right now because of the abilities. I believe that if you severely reduce the cooldown timers in PvP for abilities, you're going to see a return to hand cannon shotgun dominance. I think you'll see a lot more SMGs fly about. For sure. And you still see a lot of them, don't get me wrong. Like in the hands of a great player, they're still absolutely lethal. But people are disincentivized because people don't want to say, oh, I don't want to run in, deal with the storm grenade or a freeze or whatever the case may be.
I also want to say it's very important to, I always bring this topic up. It's always important to keep in mind the different metas based on where you play. And it's only it can potentially be near identical or it can be a more noticeable differentiation. Right now, Nomad is playing, you're on PS5, right?
Correct. And but I was PC as
right,
well.
For sure. Of course. Cool Guy is primarily Xbox with Pocket PC, right?
Hey, yeah, bro. I was putting up 40 bombs with you against them.
You were? No, this is not a shade at all. This is just
with the lot broke.
With the lot,
the lot broke.
The best AR ever, dude. But again, is always, and Cammy and I are pretty much straight Steam, but it's important because
Yeah, I played controller today.
the hell
I
was
dropped
that?
49 on Steam.
Oh, man, wish we had more time to talk about that too. But
So,
it's,
dude,
it's
but,
always
like-
important to just know the background of where people are, because I've heard from the people I talk to who play primarily console, it's sort of the same situation but with different weapons.
It's
so people are playing
meta's-
like long range. Everyone's playing preferred long range.
No, dude,
Yeah.
the map weight's terrible. Like
It's
there was a
bad,
time
yeah.
2 years
Yes,
ago
it's
where
bad.
you would play
Yeah.
It's bad.
Anomaly, Retribution, Endless Veil, Jab 4, Repeat. Now it's
Modes
Cathedral,
of map.
Disjunction.
Disjunction. So what do you
So
expect
here's
people
the
to do?
worst
Of
part.
course, people are going
That's
to play
it.
back.
That's
yeah.
it.
I
That's
go
why.
through blistering winds and scorching deserts to play my optimal range with the hand cannon. I slay the team,
Good
and then
God.
they spawn up at long distance with DMT, and I have to do it again, and it's just
Yeah.
not happening.
You run a
Yeah.
jug shield just to get into position, not even to ape with.
But I've heard that console is no time to explain, revision 0, peace of mind. Basically the baller pulse rifles.
So
And,
I will-
and then
I'll also
on
say this-
PC is DMT, 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 DMT.
Yeah. So another thing to consider as well, which may be factoring into people's experiences, is skill-based matchmaking. That's definitely affecting
Yes,
how
also-
how,
Oh, yeah.
how
also
diverse the
correct.
lobbies you see.
Uh-huh.
Definitely in the higher end for console, it's a lot of pulse rifles,
Mhm.
a lot of SMGs. Funnily enough, that's what I've been encountering. The Germans love SMGs. I keep matching people from Germany, so being in Dubai, so they love their SMGs.
Interesting.
Nobody's using sidearms right now for some reason in this part of the world,
Yeah,
which
they're
I think
still
they're
goated.
all-
They're still good.
they're still
yeah.
incredible.
They're still
Like
good.
Revision Zero paired with Forgiveness is actually broken.
So
as a
weirdly
double
enough,
primary.
I VPN'd to Japan one time, and like everybody was using bows. I just found that so
Yes.
interesting.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. I wonder what each
So-
country's
so-
flavor is.
Location
be a cool
and
trivia.
skill bracket.
Location and skill bracket. Yeah.
Yeah.
These are all factors. This is a good discussion.
Yeah.
Thank you for answering that pulse question. Here's one from Crit. I wish we had Merc here to answer this question. From @Crit. What do you think makes the Monarch strong?
Bow in it.
Safety.
Oh, we don't have enough time on this podcast.
Yeah.
It's two
We can
things
keep
for me.
going.
One is that, like, dude, if you made if you're a new player and you want to get into bows, don't touch the Monarch. Don't do it. Touch it later.
You're spoiled.
Use it.
Spoiled.
You get spoiled. Use other bows for like a month, because the second you start using Monarch and then you switch off, every bow feels like trash, because the Monarch is so sticky. It's got
It's
a
the ultimate
clean
blend
sight.
weapon.
It's so sticky. It hits for big damage, and then the tick damage that prevents people from recovering. It encourages aping down a weak target, but like, oh god, that sticky factor. It's why I was really excited to use Whistler's Whim. Whistler's goddamn Whim. It's like, oh, we got a trials weapon and it's a bow. That
But
looks
it's a
hot.
lightweight.
Yeah, it's
It's
lightweight, but I'm like, I'll
that
still
feels
try
like
it
a
out. And
precision.
then you pick it up and you're like, oh, it's trash.
That's the three reasons right there.
I hate
Lightweight frame, damage with dot, and then the
Ugh.
mental damage.
It-
Nobody
well,
likes
that-
playing against
It-
that.
when you,
Emotional damage.
yeah,
Emotional
and when you
damage.
try a bow, like you feel really confident about, there's always like that one guy on the other team who's like, I'm gonna bring out the Monarch, and like they just could
God, I
every
hate that
time,
guy.
dude. It's just Monarch. I saw the question.
Yeah.
By Oscar Mike, and I think that this is really interesting
Okay.
because it can talk. Well, okay. Pick 2 subclasses to rebalance in PvP, 1 nerf and 1 buff.
Ooh.
So-
okay.
Well,
Go,
Sunbreaker.
Nomad, go.
Yeah,
We have to nerf Bubble Titan to tier 4.
Yeah. It
I
can't be
think
tier
that's
5
just
anymore.
the easiest thing that we can all
It
agree
can't
on.
be tier 5.
Buffing though, something I've noticed as well is roaming supers aren't getting their time in the sun for some reason. They're just not anymore.
very
People
little striker
don't-
Titans that aren't Thunder
Yeah.
Crash.
A lot of Thunder
People,
Crash.
people don't know. People don't know about Marksman Golden Gun. It's really broken. I would say buff Dawnblade. Buff Dawnblade super duration.
I'm down.
Let's give it some love. And
I'm
also
down.
roaming supers in general in PvE, they're not a thing anymore because all the weapons do such a good job of ad clear that there's no reason to use ad clear supers.
And all the
So-
weapons at the top level, when you're built correctly, the burst damage from weapons is pretty much on par with
Yeah,
what you can do with a
pretty much.
a roaming super.
So I would say give roaming supers more damage against bosses
Sure. yeah.
potentially.
Why
Yeah.
not? Yeah. It's interesting. I would.
So-
I'm in agreement with the bubble nerf because it shouldn't be tier 5. It's so fast. But the buff, what to buff?
I got it.
You got it? Tell me.
Okay, so my 2 nerfs would go to the healing grenade and the bastion shield. I feel if it were me, the healing grenade should give health. The only one that gives health with restoration is the warlock aspect. That's how I feel about it. I feel that it should be like 25, 30 health, period. It will keep you alive. It will not restore your health. The bastion shield, if you're there with your team, yes, they can get an overshield. If you're not, you can't get it. And after, you can't come back and re-get the overshield. So it's either A, increase the bastion shield cooldown, make it 45 seconds instead of 22, or nerf it down to where it's a 1 overshield and done. The buffs would bring back Devour on Warlock. It would bring back Sunspots on Sunbreaker. That's what I would do.
I like that answer. Here's my very quick answer. Rather than 2 subclasses, I watched a video from Astrocross lately where he talks about how he thinks one of the things contributing the most to disengagement and like slower PvP play is class ability timers.
Yes.
Which it was like spot on, buddy. Spot on. So I would take a look at that as the quote nerf option, and the buff. Oh, dude, what is the name of the Arc Titan punch? The Falcon punch.
Thunderclap.
Thunderclap.
I was using it today. It sucks.
Dude, please allow me to charge that in the air, falling down to the ground. Let me jump around a corner.
I'll do one better. Now that you suggested it, I want that to be my answer too.
Yeah.
Fuck bubbles. That's the nerf, but it's a buff at the same time. It's a buff to Thunderclap.
Yeah.
A fully charged Thunderclap deletes the bubble. That's the only change.
Jump around a corner, charge it midair, and then by the time you hit the ground, bam, Falcon punch, and like just destroy. You can make the timer longer if you find that the being able to charge it in the air makes it too strong or something like that. Just extend the timer.
Doesn't that infringe on the identity of Ballistic Slam though?
Yeah, fuck it.
Yeah,
I'm tired of having these restrictions from like, oh, what about
how you
the
can select
class
like a
identity?
favorite finisher or emote? It's the same thing with Thunderclap. They need to make it so you can put your favorite anime opening and like link that so that as you're queuing up Thunderclap, you start hearing the theme song.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
We have time for. Oh, go ahead, cool guy.
I don't like a class ability overshield. I don't like a restoration grenade that can be. Once they came out, like we had our fun with our 3.0s. I'm like, okay, next season. Okay, we still haven't changed it. Why haven't we changed it? So it's very clear what's the strongest part of the 3.0s because it's only being played.
Fair.
So
I'm still bitter from Classy Restoration season. That was so annoying.
The Lorelei?
Oh my god, no more Classy Restoration.
The hunters were worse. With the dodge,
Hunters were awful with that dodge. Yeah.
The Lorelei was pretty bad too, though.
Here's the final question I believe we have time for on today's podcast from @Drago. What is the rating UK versus Dubai T? Additionally, when is the T tier list video coming?
So Dubai tea is interesting because you get all the tea here from all the regional countries, Pakistan, India, and all that. Like most tea is Sri Lankan and Indian, I feel, like black tea anyways. UK tea is immediately in the gutter because they have PG tips, which is the worst tea known to man. So anything related to any country that proudly displays PG tips on its shelves is an L. So GG UK. That was the easiest question of my life.
Shoved in a locker, man. God.
Yeah. And when's the T tier list coming? Loki had that as like an idea for a charity incentive, but
it would be fun.
Yeah,
you do it on stream. Right? Come on,
do it, bro.
Yeah, make it happen.
Okay. I'd love it.
And then we'll do the biscuit tier list, right? Back to back.
Where do we stand on Earl Grey?
Earl Grey is a type of tea. You're gonna have to be more specific.
That's the type of answer I would expect.
Yeah.
Just
because it depends. Like,
if
you
where
go
do you
with
stand on
Earl
chocolate?
Grey, you're a basic
like,
bitch. But if you go with like something a little bit less known, something that actually cares about the quality of their tea leaves, then we're talking.
This is good. And
I mean, it could be about the oil used, like the bergamot peel or whatever. But
sure.
Please.
But twinnings are all great. It's like, okay, you tried this once in a hotel and you liked it, so go down. I get it.
Please subscribe to Ascendant Nomad on YouTube and encourage him to not only continue to make baller content, but to make that tea and biscuit tier list. And with that, we are just about at time, so we're going to go around the table real quick, let you know where you can find each of us on our respected channels. Starting with our guest Nomad, where can the people find you?
I am at Ascendant Nomad on Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, and that's pretty much, and Hive if you're on Hive, but that's pretty much it.
Sure. Cool Guy, where can the people find you?
Twitter, YouTube, Cool Guy Games.
Cammy?
Twitch.tv/CammyCakes, where I'm trying to kill people by reflecting arc staff turrets at gamers. Fallout.
That's classic, Cammy. YouTube.com/FalloutPlays, Twitch.tv/FalloutPlays. Same thing for Twitter. And we again thank Nomad for taking the time out of the day to join us, especially so early coming in from Dubai. Man. We really appreciate you, buddy.
No. It was a pleasure. Thank you for inviting me. I appreciate it.
And again, we are Firing Range. Thank you so much for listening to our podcast. We'll let you know on Twitter the next time we will be going live. Thank you so much. Take care of each other, and we'll see you next time.